This is a message to all my supporters of this podcast. I'm introducing a new supporters program. You can contribute a small amount as a one-off payment to show your love for this podcast. Thank you in advance for all your contributions.
Hi, my name's Mark Hayward. I am a corporate employee with a entrepreneurial mindset. Here are some of my thoughts, ideas and comments. So I want to talk to you today about something that I found out about myself. I was asked recently to do a job description for my role, not because they were trying to get rid of me, or hopefully not, anyway, but it was mainly to be able to help a new employee that was coming to the team who was going to add a similar skill set to myself. So I did this, and what I found was that the best way to be able to break down my role and what I do is into three distinct areas. First one is managing clients. So I have a client portfolio which I manage, and then equally it is managing projects. So it might be internal, it might be external, it might be deliverables, it might be whatever it is. And third one is managing people. So I'm going to talk through these three areas. So this is basically what makes me a consultant, and this is the difference between when I've talked about previously about being an admin staff compared to a consultant. This is a further on from this to try and work out what a consultant is for my type of business. So I'm going to talk you through those three different areas, and we can then think about what is the best, what it means to be a consultant in my type of business. So the first one is managing clients. Now this is probably the most important one because that's where your money comes from. That's where you get your generate income, generate revenues. So it's probably the most important, I would say. And what that means is that I actually have a portfolio of clients which straddle across 5 different products. I have a particular expertise in one of my products, but I have clients across all of the other ones, which some I've found, some I've created and created opportunities and got them and won them, and some I've inherited, and some are just completely new from a bid, and I'm responsible for it. So they can come in various different guises, but essentially what it means is having a day-to-day point of contact with the client. Now, that means that you need to be able to be available, answer questions technically about the product. So there is a calculator tool which I am involved in, and that is very heavily, when there's questions, it's very heavily on specific technical queries. Now, on this example, mainly they're not tax specific, but they are from a technology basis, and they are questions about why is this calculation doing that? Surely it should be a little bit higher or a little bit lower, or I don't understand how it's come to this conclusion. So I would then do analysis and understand exactly what the client was. So basically try and recreate the example that they've created. And then I then explain to them where they've made a mistake or whether there's a bug, because sometimes it could be a bug. So it's important that you're able to answer the questions specifically for the client, because if the client is trying to deliver something and your calculator tool is giving them results they're not expecting, then it's important for you to be able to go and answer those questions quickly and efficiently. Equally, it might be for a client, it might be a change request or a larger piece of work, larger piece of work for your client. That might mean that you are developing requirements, you are working with the client to agree what they want, so the requirements, and then working out a project plan of how you're going to deliver it, working with the development team on the more technical aspects of that, and either feeding back that it can be done or can't be done, or it's a better way of doing it this way or that way. So again, this is linking in my example, is linking in with the development team and then linking in with the client and what we can deliver. So sometimes it doesn't happen as often as it probably should, but client says I want X and actually Y is the better is the better answer. I would like in our future that we actually do that a little bit more, because we hold a lot of expertise and a lot of understanding. And if we've decided to go a particular route, then it's probably for a very good reason. So I would say, from a sort of development point from my side, I think we should be able to be a little bit more robust and sort of think about what is the best thing for the product going forward, as well as just delivering for clients. So there you go. It could be a new project or a new change request that needs to be done. Just generally being a supportive and effective communicator is very important when you're dealing with clients. You need to be able to calm them, because sometimes they do get a little bit agitated or annoyed by certain things. Could be downtime, for example. We rarely have it now, but if you have a situation where there's downtime and you're then having to communicate to the client what went wrong and how it's going to be fixed, and when you're going to stop it happening again. Equally, it could be a bug in the system, and that you need to explain that we're working on it currently and we'll find a resolution. And once we find the resolution, we will then deliver you a software update, and then you'll be able to carry on on your way. So there's lots of different facets of clients and how to deal with them. There's a video blog on YouTube which is about different types of clients, and they can equally be demanding. They equally can be more relaxed. Some of them are high revenue, some of them are low revenue. So however, check that out. It's a really good 2 or 3 minute piece on the different types of clients. So check out that. Right, the second point I want to talk about is managing projects. So what you'll find is, or I found, let's say, is that often there are internal projects that need to be done, and they need to be able to be delivered just like they're a client. And whether that is delivering a new piece of software, whether that is creating something for indirectly to a client or whatever it is, this actually pulls on your project management skills, which you get from your client side as well. But equally, you might need to be more of a project manager on these sorts of projects. I was involved in a marketing project, and it was very interesting, and it really meant I was the driver of the project, which is really interesting, because then you need to coordinate other people, the stakeholders, and make sure people are carrying on and supporting you and fighting your corner and making sure things get delivered. So equally, you need to be the driving force of that, and need to create a clear vision, and then you need to be able to work with other people to be able to deliver that within the agreed time frame. So managing projects is important. Equally, they could be if you had a large change request and it was more project based rather than just a change, that equally could be into managing projects. I think you need to just make sure when you're delivering projects, there's some really good training sessions that can be done on project management. I find it's all down to your judgment. I find it all down to how you treat other people, because you cannot deliver this all on your own. You need other people's input. So for a project, I think stakeholders are important, drivers are important, understanding what needs to be done and when, and that's your judgment. And I find that at my company, I've got a sort of relatively good judgment call on when things need to be done. They're not deliver in a week's time. It's obviously just key. It's more like you keep things moving along, and then when you're requesting information from other people, it's interesting. Do you give them just 24 hours, which is going to annoy them? Or do you give them a bit of extra time and give them a call and support them? I found some of the worst people that are project managing are the people that say, I want everything done by the end of tomorrow at 5:30. And to be honest, that gets most people's backs up, and they're like, I don't want to do it. So often in those circumstances, it's not actually done. So I would say it's incredibly important to have that good judgment on what is reasonable and what is possible. The only way you're going to do a Steve Jobs and say you want it all done by the end of tomorrow is if you actually get involved in delivering that for the end of tomorrow, because most people will not respond well to those sorts of situations. So I would say just be mindful. You don't have to be Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was utterly unique, and he had to go through a lot of being sacked by Apple and then reinstated. He had to go through a hell of a lot because of the way that he treated people. So I think it's important that people are treated well, and projects are dealt with by good judgment rather than unreasonable decisions. Okay, so the last point is about managing people. So this might be upwards or downwards. So equally, I've started in the recent time to delegate more of my stuff. I've been given a new project, and I am struggling to do my processes. So what I'm trying to do is trying to automate them. And maybe not automate them, but delegate them. And so I'm currently in the process of sharing those things that we need to do for our clients and getting other people to be involved in delivering them. I think this is probably, from my experience, the hardest, because I have the least experience in this area. Although I think people are based on judgments and making good decisions, which I hope people believe that I do. But equally, our team has not been blessed with a lot of younger, junior staff, so it's not as easy to delegate down. But I've found an avenue where I can do that, so I'm starting to do that very importantly at the moment, is by delivering those sorts of things to other people and delegating. There's going to be a podcast soon, so check it out, about delegating. So I've learned some key lessons about delegation, and I'm going to share that with you on another podcast, so look out for that. But equally, it's being able, if you're delivering something downwards, you need to be clear, you need to be precise, you need to be exact. You encourage people to learn, and they need to learn in the best way that they can learn. So whether that is writing notes, whether that is doing, whether that is listening, watching, it's important that you're able to make sure that the people have the best way of being able to learn. So when you're delegating to people, there's a lot of responsibility on you to be able to deliver that to that person, and that might need coaching, that might need a bit of extra time at the start, but it soon works for your benefit if it all goes to plan. So I would say that it's really important that by delegating you get the right people, and you delegate in the correct way by explaining what you need to explain to them clearly. Delegating upwards is something you do when you're more junior, and that is being able to manage people's expectations and manage people's way they dictate, or the way they run things. So I would say that you should be thinking about managing upwards as well, and it's based on being able to manage expectations and manage and what they want. So I would say it's definitely important for you to think about those sorts of things by managing upwards as well as downwards. So please think about that. Right. At the end of the podcast, can you please leave me a iTunes review if you listen to this on Apple? I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas on what I'm doing and the content that I'm providing. Hopefully you're finding it useful. Secondly, Twitter. Check me out on Mark Hayward 169. Check me out on the website absolutebusinessmindset.com. I am sharing a possibility of being able to do some mentoring and some coaching, as well as an ebook which is going to be out soon. Equally, if you've enjoyed my podcast, please start subscribing to it. It would be great if you'd subscribe. You can then get them into your inbox in Sundays and Thursdays are the days that I release podcasts. So check them out. They come out very regularly. And last thing, if you've enjoyed the podcast, can you please share it with someone? Can you tell someone about it? Whether it's a friend, whether it's a colleague, or whether it's a family member, just tell them, Mark's really good on Absolute Business Mindset. You should check it out, his podcast. I'm getting some really valuable tips and ideas and strategies and ways to approach things. So I'm really enjoying it. Maybe you should listen to it too. Okay, so if you could do that, that would be fantastic. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.